Welcome ladies and gents, Chris Andre here. You can find me at BetBoxing on Twitter. Of course, you can subscribe to the channel. Let's talk boxing. Let's talk about what we just saw. Vasyl Lomachenko putting on a brutal at times display. And at other times, it looked like the moniker Loma the Merciful would have been an appropriate nickname had he been a Roman emperor. Of course, it's Kambosos that has declared himself the emperor of the lightweight division. We'll talk about the division as a whole. But first, let's talk about the performance that we saw tonight. You know, the first few rounds, I thought that Commey had his tactics pretty spot on. He almost forgot about targeting the head. He wasn't interested. He wanted to be launching those wide hooks to stop Lomachenko exiting and mix it up with a few shovel hooks or uppercuts with the backhand underneath the elbows of Lomachenko. He wanted to invest in the body, and he was finding a home for it quite consistently. Now, he's still eating a lot of punishment in return, but he's still landing on something. Lomachenko had taken away his jab. So that was his money shot, so to speak. The hope that he could take away his legs enough to make him a more stationary target for the final stretch. Unfortunately for him, Lomachenko had started to read the patterns quite quickly. And he began to cover up just right inside the pocket and the almost inner mid-range, knowing that at that point, Commey would be trying to throw numerous hooks. He wasn't able really to land those hooks, not consistently. Lomachenko was covering up. He was coming under them. He was taking a lot off the gloves. The shots that were landing for Commey were to the body. And Lomachenko was feinting his movements as he always likes to do. Sometimes he would be coming out to the side. And there was one moment where Commey read the step around and he actually turned Lomachenko, much to the joy of Andre Rosier in the corner. This was early in the fight. So Loma began to feint as though he was going to exit and not actually exiting, dipping and then coming back out, causing a reaction. And for every reaction of Commey's, there was the reaction of Lomachenko, which would punish him. Basically, when Commey would fight tall, it would make a bigger target for the solar plexus. So he began to crouch slightly. And by crouching slightly, it gave Loma the opportunity to throw a jab, a right hand, over the top of Commey's jab, the top of Commey's left hand. And he'd throw it quite high, right? He throws it almost from high above the shoulder almost. It's not a low sort of up jab or even a jab from the shoulder. It comes high and he's throwing it. He would throw that shot, and as he lands it, he steps outside of Commey's lead leg, follows up with a left straight hand to the solar plexus. And when he'd be on the inside, he'd duck down, get into that safe area. Commey's trying to land those shots, those hooks. Like I said, he would be punishing Loma every now and then with some solid body shots. But Loma was willing to take that one to land his 2 or 3. And by doing so, he's applying incessant pressure. And off of that left hand to the solar plexus, when it starts to become a little bit too hot in the kitchen and Commey's trying to pull out, he'll then follow up with another short left hand. And that's when you start to see Commey's head really snap back. It was superb stuff, you know. He's not only got fast hands, but the point of which he delivers his shots is just superb. And the accuracy's there. He knows when to vary up the power, when to vary up the speed. He's just so difficult to read. He's so difficult to deal with. And for a smaller man, you know, a man of that size who's naturally smaller, to be fighting a pressure fighting style in the way that he does, it's just incredible. It really is. And Rosier, who generally did a good job with the tactics that he gave Commey, I think he did one, he was saying one thing that just doesn't stand up to scrutiny. Loma likes to go to work when there are 2 things going on, predominantly, right? One of them is when you have committed to a shot and you have missed, i.e. if you've overreached or if he's countering you, so you're punching. That's at one point. The other time is when you are now in a shell. He'll do that to you, right? The first part, counter you, make you fall short. You then start to become gun shy and you counter, you cover up and your hand comes up, high guard. When that starts to happen, he starts to go to work again. So you don't know what to do. Do I attack? Do I defend? How do I find that happy medium against this guy? And even if I do, I'm still getting outboxed. How do I cope with Lomachenko? Well, what Rosier was doing clearly was thinking along the lines of, we don't want to cover up because that's when Loma will go to work. So he would be saying to Commey, don't stop. He even said this post-fight, don't stop. Keep throwing punches. You know, listen, it's not realistic or easy to maintain that sort of approach when a guy's putting that much pressure and he's throwing that many punches and he's constantly coming into your zone of danger. He's forcing you to punch by stepping into your zone of danger. This is something, by the way, that Kambosos did very well against Teofimo Lopez. But with Kambosos, he'd be stepping in and sporadically letting go of shots. Usually he'd be stepping in, getting Teofimo to throw and then step out and come back in. That's more of a Manny Pacquiao type of approach, something that he said he learned from Manny Pacquiao. Loma will go in and stay in. But regardless, they're coming into your zone, whereby when I talk about zone, I'm talking about the area where you have to act. You either tie up, you throw a punch, or you move. You get out of the way. It's that pocket, that area where you can be reached and the guy's in your danger zone, right? He forces his way in there, Lomachenko. Now, this idea of don't stop, well, okay, but then that's kind of like telling Usain Bolt, don't stop sprinting. You know, he's up against Mo Farah. He's past the 100-meter mark. He's past the 200-meter mark. He's past the 300-meter mark. And he's looking back and he's thinking, I'm miles ahead of Mo Farah. At 400, 500, 600 meters, Mo Farah starts to take over. At 1,000 meters, 2,000 meters, Usain Bolt's getting lapped. And then you've got his trainer on the sideline saying, listen, as long as you're running as fast as you can, Mo Farah can't keep up with you. Well, yeah, I know, but I can't keep running as fast as I can all day long. That's the point. So when you throw shots in their lazy jabs, because that's the other thing, you can continue to push your arm out there, but if there's no snap to it and it's a lazy sort of jab, that's when you're going to see that counter come over the top of that jab. So dealing with Lomachenko requires mental strength, tactical nous, it requires stamina. You have to be able to lower the tempo. And Teofimo Lopez did that very well early in the fight. And Lomachenko got his tactics wrong. He wasn't taking enough of a risk. He was taking too long to start to put his foot on the gas. And that's what I think cost him the fight. Had he started a little bit earlier, yes, the threat would have been greater from Teofimo Lopez, who does carry that one-punch knockout power. We know that. And Lomachenko is a smaller guy. And clearly he felt that power early on. But nonetheless, we know he has he's got a great chin and he's got the ability to cover up. Had he come in, forced Teofimo into work more early, I still think that fight would have gone his way too, which is why I was always quite bullish on the idea that he wins the rematch against Teofimo Lopez. The point is, dealing with Lomachenko requires everything to align perfectly on the night for you. And I still believe he is the best lightweight in the world. And I believe he will probably go on to prove it if he's given the opportunity before he gets to an age where he's declined too much. And I do believe as well that if he was to do that and become the undisputed champion, he would establish himself once again as the pound-for-pound #1 fighter in the world. I think he's the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world if we're just talking about ability. If your judgment of pound-for-pound is achievement, fine. You're not going to have him there right now. Not achievement. Let me rephrase. Current status. Because achievement, he's achieved a lot. But if your idea of how can I have a pound-for-pound #1 fighter in the world when he's not the current champion, his status does not warrant that, then I understand, right? I get that. But if your viewpoint is ability, then for me, he's just levels. However, there are one or two question marks we need to ask about Lomachenko. Number one, yes, Commey did land to the body quite a lot. Fair enough. You can't fight Lomachenko's style and not get wet a little bit. It's impossible. It's like, you know, like as the phrase goes, you can't swim without getting wet. However, at round 7, when he clearly hurt Commey, dropped him heavily, Commey got up, he went on to carry on hurting him on 2 occasions. Once he stepped back, looked at the corner, looked at the ref. Second time he stepped back and he's actively telling the corner, you're not going to stop it. Why did he do this? Is it because he was merciful? Did we see that Loma the Merciful? Is it because he liked Commey? Commey's such a nice guy, man. He's such a good dude. Is it just a case of, I really don't want to hurt this guy. I don't want to leave him with serious issues. You know, you can see how proud he is to be Ghanaian. He's fighting for his people. I don't want him to go out like that on his back. If that's the case, then you have to ask yourself, is that just Loma being totally alpha to the point where he's saying, I can do what I want and I'm willing to let you off? Or is it a bit of a mental weakness there where he's lacking a killer instinct? I don't think that's the case at all, by the way. I'm just posing it to you. There is another potential, however. The other potential is that Lomachenko is getting to an age now where his stamina isn't what it used to be. Now, I know he threw an awful lot of punches tonight, but after round 7, his tempo, or rather the ferocity of what he was throwing, definitely declined. The very next round, in round 8, it was a round he took off. Go and watch that round again. A lot of movement, a lot of feints, a lot of shifting. He's not really throwing punches. Is it again because he thinks Commey's really hurt and I don't want to bust this guy up too much? Or is it a case of him taking a breather? I've put in a lot into that last round. I threw some big solid shots. Let me just chill for a little bit right now. He carried on later on throwing a lot of throwaway shots when he was throwing combinations and slipping in the odd solid shot in there too. I'm not saying he became completely passive. He was still dominating. He was still putting a bit of a beating on Commey and he was winning all the rounds. Herring at the end of the fight who I thought did a terrific job on comms, gave an example of Pacquiao and Margarito where he feels that Pacquiao took his foot off the gas against Margarito so he doesn't really hurt him. Did we see something like that? Did we see Loma the Merciful? Or did we see an element of Loma that might just be aging, the stamina factor? And he thought, you know what, let me just pace myself here. I can't afford another disaster. If Loma was to lose again by some freak incident, some shot, whatever, he's never getting a shot at the titles because no one's going to want to fight him. Because they'll know this guy's level's right up there, but his stock would have fallen drastically. So was there a part of him that just thought, you know what, let me not punch myself out. I've got this in the bag. Let me stay safe here. I don't know. I'm just posing the question. What do you think that was tonight? Mercy? Or was he cautious because of stamina? In terms of Commey, what a warrior. You know, he can come back. I'd love to see Commey against Nakatani or even Isaac Diaz. You know, I can imagine him being in a few of those rough and tumble type wars against guys that are, you know, solid warriors of their own. I'd love to see Commey go down that route and try and rebuild like that. I think he'd be involved in a few humdingers, no doubt. In terms of Lomachenko, look, as I've said, I believe he's the best lightweight in the world. He currently does not have a belt. Kambosos, for various reasons, would be stupid to fight Lomachenko right now. It's got nothing to do with ducking. It's got to do with what benefit he currently has from doing it. Lomachenko does not have a belt. He doesn't offer the biggest monetary prize either. So you're talking about the best in the division, let's be honest. The biggest risk for the lowest reward. Bob Arum has to do his thing. He has to do his thing and get Lomachenko in there with some of the bigger names. Or force his way into a mandatory position. He's going to have to, you know, pull some strings because none of these other guys are going to want to fight him. They're just not. He's just at a point where he's in that who needs him club. And I mean, when he had the belts, no one wanted to fight him except for Teofimo Lopez, who took his big chance, right? Let alone now that he doesn't have the belts. So let me know what you think. Are they going to try and wait it out? The guy's 33 years old. You know, we're not going to see him get another shot until he's 35, 36. Is that the plan they have? And then make out like they would have beaten him all along? Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, everyone. Chat to you soon. Take care. God bless.